It's showtime, folks. Welcome in, Chase and Big Joe here on this Monday, 1025, 1063 The Game. No Big Joe today. Teron Davenport is in for him, and we are live at the Hermitage Golf Course for Stars and their annual golf tournament. We'll tell you a little bit more about that as we go along today. But TD, good to see you. What's going on?
Nothing much, man. It's great to be seen. We got the draft coming up, a lot of conversation there, and just, man, it's another day.
Can I just say, and I'm sure you probably feel the same way, thank the good Lord that it's draft week, because I'm tired of all this speculation and what are they going to do here or what's this team going to do and all that stuff. And it's just like, finally, can we talk about these prospects that are actually being drafted by a team?
Yeah. It's just one of those things where it's like, all right, I have fatigue from not being able to just talk about a prospect in particular or a player that the team got. You got to look at, 5 different edge rushers, 5 different receivers, 3 different quarter. It's just like, come on, let's just talk about Cam Ward. Let's talk about Luther Burden. Let's talk about, what I mean? Yeah, I gave away what I hoped to happen in the first 2 rounds. I'll admit it.
All right, well, let's start with that. So, because I think one of the big discussions now is, because I believe most people, except for Joe Dubin, have accepted that Cam Ward is going to be the number 1 overall pick. Mm-hmm. He has this crazy idea that they're still going to trade out last minute. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Cam Ward is going to be the pick.
Yeah.
The question then is, do you stick and pick at 35, or do you try and move back in the second round so you can add a third rounder that you currently do not have?
Yeah, and that's a big question to answer. I think it really is going to depend on who is there. So you look at some of the options, whether you're looking at Luther Burden, you're looking at, Landon Jackson, Donovan Ezeraku, Pierce, who I don't think makes it to the second round, but let's put him in there, James Pierce.
Yeah.
Those types of prospects, if they're there, I don't think you move back. But if they're not, then you do look at moving back. You want to hope that one of these teams wants to move up to get a Tyler Shuck, a Jackson Dart, or that type, and you can acquire an extra third round pick.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, look, if Luther Burden's there at 35, it's going to be very hard for me to say no.
Yeah,
I mean, he's that good. If you really want to get it back into the third round, you can figure it out.
Yeah, you could put some things together to get into the third round. But the thing that you have to look at and just understand is, okay, how far back?
Yeah, right.
In the second can you go?
Right.
I mean, that's the big thing.
So I've been obsessed with the draft simulator that ESPN Analytics has.
Yeah.
And I have run a few simulations where I'm basically able to trade back to like anywhere from 43 to 47 in the second round and acquire, and probably move like one of the 6 rounders and stuff like that too. But acquire a third round pick.
Yeah, and if you could do that, now you're looking at the Kyle Williams. Yeah. You're looking at, the Kyle Kennards and those types. I wouldn't be opposed to doing that as long as Burden is not on the board. But if he's on the, like, you almost have to look. Blessed though, the scouting agency that a lot of the NFL teams use, they had Luther Burden as a top 5 prospect entering this past year. Like, this guy was someone who was pretty much universally considered to be a top 10, top 15 pick.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's reasons why he dropped. If those reasons are not enough to offset you liking him as a prospect, like, do it. I really think that the talent is there.
I 100% agree with you. And, I think it's not like last year's draft, but I think there's some good receivers in this draft. And TD, we've said this ad nauseum throughout the offseason. They've got to address that position.
Have to.
And I really think when I say address that position, I mean we'll take the first round out because we know what they're doing. But the second or third round, they've got to get a receiver. Now, you want to get somebody else in the 4th or the 5th, like Restrepo, if he's there, probably, what do you think, 5th?
Yeah, I would say 5th.
If he's there, then okay, I'm good with that. But you got to get, somebody in the second round, in my opinion. So I'm with you. If Burden's there, it's going to be really hard not to go turn the card in and say, okay, we're going to take this guy. We got our quarterback. We got our receiver.
Right.
And then we'll figure the rest out even if, as hard as it is to basically sit there at 35, make the pick, and then you don't pick again until, what is it, 103? That's a long time.
Yeah.
That's
the problem,
Now you have 2 4th-rounders that you can play with. You can look at next year's draft and move one of those picks, and then again, it's kicking the can down the road. But if you have to do that, then I think you probably can. And go ahead.
Packers, why not Packers Levis? And Stiller and I talked about that.
That was my next question, because, and I want to know if you agree with this sentiment or not. I think it would be to the detriment of Cam Ward and Will Levis if Will Levis is still on this team, because you've basically already told Will Levis you're not the guy anymore.
Yeah.
See if you can move him. Now, you're not going to get the moon for him, but see if you can move him, let him go have a fresh start, and then you take any awkwardness and that unneeded pressure off your rookie quarterback.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing to do. However, if they're not able to do it, like, these guys, they have to coexist.
Sure.
They have to figure out. And, I like the makeup that Cam has to be able to do that, to be honest with you. So, yeah, I mean, the bottom line, the keys are being turned over to a new driver.
Do you see this scenario at all where they just release Will Levis?
No.
I don't either.
No, because the contract, like, it's a rookie contract. It's not something that's hard to absorb. You know what I mean? So I don't see that.
You can weigh in on our text line 615-737-1025, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You can also call. This is already a good question from Dylan. Do you think it's more important to address wide receiver or to get Cam Ward a talented tight end to rely on?
Well,
now his tight end from Miami could be there.
Yeah, Arroyo could be there.
Yeah.
I still feel Chig is a solid pass catcher. I still feel he is. Has he become what everybody thought he would, with all the hype in his first training camp and all that? No, but I mean, 50 catches for 500 to 600 yards is not bad, especially in that offense last year.
Right.
And you saw him start to catch on a little bit later, and things started to work out, and they were scheming for him, and I think he's capable. Now, does that mean you don't draft a tight end? No, I would look at one. Arroyo is one that I would really look at. This is a league where matchups are supreme.
I like the kid from Texas too.
Yeah. And that's the thing. There's so many guys. There's one from Texas Tech. His name slips my mind, but I saw him at Shrine, and he was an impressive pass catcher too. I'll look him up. I forget his name.
I hear what you're saying about Chig. I don't necessarily disagree with you. I think that he hasn't been put in the best position to succeed, but at the same time, like, you gotta show me something more than you have. And the tight end position to me is so important for a rookie quarterback because it's the safety blanket. Mm-hmm. It's the rookie QB safety blanket that if they get a little overwhelmed, well, they know the tight end's there and they can check down to the tight end and hopefully get something out of it. Now, can Chig play that role? Sure. I think Chig can play that role, but I want to see a little bit more out of him.
Yeah, Jalen Conyers is the Texas Tech tight end name. But look, here's the other thing that you have to look at. Restrepo, he's obviously not a tight end.
No.
But he could work the middle of the field and do those things that you ask a tight end to do. You have a sturdy slot player like that. That's a safety net for your quarterback also. And we know, that's a connection. And just talking to him, and then you look at Shannon Dawson, the Miami OC, like, he literally was like, hey, you guys, when you want to do your thing, go ahead and do it. Like, you have my trust, so go ahead and do it. I thought that was pretty cool. He told me about that.
Yeah, I mean, I would love a scenario where you're getting a dynamic receiver, probably in the second round, and then you get Restrepo in the fifth to pair with his quarterback, and then you add that to Calvin Ridley that you already have. If Bryce Oliver becomes the next NWI, then great. Mm-hmm. And then whatever Treylon Burks is at this point, you kind of throw that in there too.
I laugh because Schefter put out a story with like different draft intel, and he had Traylon Burks as one of the guys on a rookie contract that be traded. I'm like, dude, like, he's not even cleared to play. Like,
Yeah, he may not even play this year.
Yeah, you can't trade him.
Well, and the other thing too, and we can continue this discussion. Teron Davenport in for Joe Dubin today is I want I say the tight end being kind of a safety blanket, but a Tyler Boyd type. Now, I think Tyler Boyd, like, he showed he didn't have a lot of separation left last year, but someone like that.
Yeah.
Who could be that guy that could be that slot receiver that's also a good go-to guy? We'll continue to discuss that as the draft is finally here this week. Brett Kern going to join us at 10 o'clock as he always does. We're live at the Hermitage Golf Course today for Stars Golf Tournament. We'll tell you more about that. Chase McCabe, Teron Davenport in today on the Chase and Big Joe Show, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
My bad.
Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game here on this Monday. We're live at the Hermitage Golf Course for Stars. Dr. Crane is back at the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Talking draft. It is Thursday. Finally, it is going to be here. Tehran, of course, will be over at the facility. They have the pre-draft press conference coming up. Is that today or tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
So we will hear from the Titans brass on all of that. And I don't think they're going to get up there and say, yeah, we're going to take Cam Ward number 1 overall. But
No.
I think everybody kind of has a good idea that that is going to be the case. So talking about the kind of the slot receiver, they brought in Tyler Boyd last year, and I loved that signing when they made it. I think we were talking about well before they did it, and they did that after the draft, that they should sign Tyler Boyd. They did. He was disappointing, like most of the team really was, and it just didn't work out the way everybody had hoped. I felt like maybe Boyd was missing a step or two, but who could be a guy, whether they're on this team or still in free agency or potentially in the draft, that could kind of fill a role like that, because they need to address that.
Yeah, I think Tyler Lockett will fill that role if you want to go the veteran route.
Yeah.
Honestly, though, I feel Van Jefferson can be a guy that could work the middle of the field and
keep
do
forgetting
some of
they
those
signed
things.
him. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just not used to that yet.
But I mean, look, like, that's not a major signing. So
No.
it's understandable that you forget about him. But I think you really have to go towards the draft. And Restrepo is just, he's someone I keep going back to and just saying, you know what? He's going to fall. Highly productive. He's sturdy, a great understanding of the game. He looks at it like a quarterback. He's always going to be where you want him to be. He reminds me a lot of like an Adam Humphries type of player. You know what I mean? And I love the fact when I talk to him, I love when guys know the game.
Yeah.
So we're talking. I'm like, who are some guys? And he said Devon Best. And I almost fell out my chair. I'm like,
yeah,
thank you for being because Devon Best ran a 4.65, right? He was ultra productive. The University of Hawaii, ran a 4.65. Everybody's like, pfft. But then the Dolphins got him, and he was murdering the slot for them, man. So I thought it was cool that he mentioned him. But yeah, he's that type of player. There's some other options. I think you look at Harold Fannin. He's not like a supremely athletic guy, but he's a tight end that you could flex and have him, run routes and get open too. Like there's Arroyo. He's another one. Like there's so many. Yeah, guys that you could, kind of mix them in tight end / slot. And there's other guys like, Restrepo that's just pure slot.
Now, Restrepo has been a recent guest on the Talking with TD podcast, correct?
Yeah.
You can go and listen to that. I know you've had quite a few prospects on in the last few weeks. Is anyone, he's obviously stood out to you. Is there anyone else that Titans fans should pay attention to?
Yeah, I know there's some interest in Elijah Badger. And you saw we grabbed him in the 6th round of this mock that I'm doing. I don't know why he's like not getting talked about, but he's considered like a 5th, 6th round guy. 20 yards per catch. I mean, his skill set is very similar to Stephon Diggs as far as like, very good on the releases, good yards after catch. He has some return ability, kick return. He hasn't done punts, but he's one. Landon Jackson, I just like Landon Jackson. This dude, he was consuming 4,500 calories a day in high school to gain weight.
Good grief. That's a lot.
and when he was in middle school, he walked 1.5 miles to go to practice, to go to school, because his parents, weren't together. He wanted to go to the school where his dad lived, so he walked. Crazy story. But yeah, those are two. Who Eugene Asante, the Auburn linebacker. He was voted one of the linebackers of the week at the Senior Bowl, but he was so fun to talk to. And he talked about how, everybody doubting him. That's what he always thinks about, when it's time to play. That was one of our first interviews. He was cool.
Tehran Davenport is in for Joe Dubin today here on the Chase and Big Joe show at the Hermitage Golf Course. And what I find fascinating about this draft, they don't have a ton of picks, but they got a good amount that you could certainly address some needs. But once again, I think the Titans find themselves in a situation where they're not going to be able to fill every hole.
Right.
And they can do the post-draft wave of free agency. They can, obviously do the undrafted free agents, which they've, been successful in finding some diamonds in the rough there.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're kind of looking at this draft, for me, quarterback aside, because we know they're going to address that, it's receiver, it's edge, it's tight end, and then if you can find a guard, I would love to find a guard.
A guard?
A guard. And as Floyd, the late, great Floyd Reese always taught us, you can definitely get a guard later in the draft.
Yeah.
They're there. So if they walk away with that, I'm going to feel good. Now, the wild card in all of this is we don't know what's going to happen with L'Jarius Sneed. So if the right corner's there, do you sacrifice a guy that you've had on your board that you really, really liked at another position to take the corner because you might need a corner?
You saw what we did on him.
Yeah, I know. You just went through it.
Yeah.
Who'd you take?
Quincy Riley.
Okay.
And he was here last week. So there's obviously interest. He's another one of those spillovers that, last year he was considered a top 2 round prospect. This year, third, fourth, you wouldn't use a second on it. But, I mean, he's someone. I think you look at Kobe Bryant out of Kansas also. He was so impressive at the Senior Bowl, Shrine. Then you go back and watch the Colorado game. Like, he told me, he was like, man, I took that personally. You know what I mean? Not to take anything away from Travis Hunter. He just wanted to show that he is the best corner in the college football. So those are a couple guys I would consider taking because, like you said, you don't know what's going to happen. Will it be a suspension? Like what? Yeah. You don't know. Yeah. So you do have to secure. And then even still the health risk that is with Sneed also.
I will say this, that I've heard you and Jared discuss it, and I've heard Jared, discuss it multiple times on his show. I am not like if he gets suspended and you decide to move on, okay. I'm not opposed to that. I get it. Save that money. I'm not giving it to Jalen Ramsey. I'm not a fan of Jalen Ramsey. I know he's from here, like all that. That's great. I've never really been a big fan. You're trying to. He's a good player. I don't think he's a great player.
Yeah.
But he's a good player. But you're trying to fix some culture stuff in this locker room, and I don't think that helps.
Yeah, and not only that, he's not at a point where the talent supersedes the other stuff you deal with.
Yeah,
anymore.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I get it. I just always when someone mentions Jalen Ramsey, I always think of that video that they put up where he was walking into the stadium and they got Michael Irvin and the guys in the background cracking up because he's walking in. He was kind of feminine walking in, but they took the Beyonce Freakum dress and put it to that music. It was so funny, man. It's the funniest video.
Well, I remember the Brinks truck and
look, because he's a baller. He was a baller. Like he had a point where you're like, hey, Jalen Ramsey, and then the rest of the corners. It's not the same anymore.
Yeah, and look, he had a good year for Miami. I don't think he had a bad year by any means, but I'm definitely not trading for him. Like I'm not giving up an asset to trade for him. But I just now, if you go through this whole process and it turns out that Sneed's gone and then Jalen gets released in Miami and you can get him on a prove-it deal, then I might talk about it. But at the same time, I still worry about, bringing some of that into this locker room.
Right.
With a young corner group. Because, they released Chidobe Awuzie, which I was a little surprised. I was surprised, but not surprised at the same time. I mean, I think they just looked that maybe he's just too hurt. But I liked that signing when they made it. But you released him, and so you got a relatively young group. It's a group that I like, but I do think they need a veteran where if you have a healthy Sneed and a Sneed that doesn't have trouble, that would be ideal.
Yeah.
But it's a big if right now.
Yeah, that's the two factors, the injury and the injury possibility and the other stuff.
Yeah. So I don't know how that's all going to work out. 615-737-1025. If you got some questions for TD, you got a whole show to do it. So you can get those in. There's a few on our text line that we'll get to coming up next. But I also want to talk defense because we spent a lot of time on the offense. We'll do that coming up here on Chasing Big Joe. We're live today at the Hermitage Golf Course for the Stars Golf Tournament. And our show, of course, is presented by the Omni Nashville Hotel here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. This week's Nashville Best Deal, Dr. Crane bringing it today, is Fog Street Lawn Club, Nashville's premier soccer pub and rooftop. Fog Street Lawn Club offers scrumptious bites, British lawn bowling, and premier soccer pub vibes. Get half off I wish I could read today. Get half off a $30 gift card now at thegamenashville.com/deals and dive into the ultimate rooftop experience. Chasing Big Joe, Teron Davenport in for Big Joe today at the Hermitage Golf Course. As we're kind of going through, you've had a mock draft that you went and made. Go ahead and give us the results of it real quick.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. Let me just switch to the other screen here. And 3, 2, 1. Okay. Obviously, first pick is going to be Cam Ward. We know that. Hey, Luther Burden was on the board
at 35.
So was James Pierce. And look, here's the deal. Obviously, if Pierce is there, like I would pick him. But
so you would take Pierce over Burden,
right? I think if you go like prospect for prospect horizontally,
yeah,
I would hesitantly, but I would.
I probably would agree with that because they need edge. They need help.
Right,
there.
Exactly. So you do have that. So I took Burden at 35. Now I was able to creep into the third round. So I packaged pick 103 and pick 141 for I tried to get 72. I got a little desperate. I traded into the third. I traded it for pick 93. Okay. Right? Probably overpaid for it. I'll admit I overpaid. But Josiah Stewart got him. Like he's a very traitsy edge rusher. I think he's one of those guys that could be a day two guy that could produce. Yeah. One of those rare. He has that potential to do it. So I got him. Right. And then in the fourth round with pick 120, I took Quincy Riley. We talked about the cornerback situation. And then in round 5, I took Baron Sorrell out of Texas, who I think is, a very good player as well. Could help out with the depth there. Round 6, I couldn't believe Elijah Badger was still on. I took him. And then the second pick in round 6, I took your guy, Seth McLaughlin. So this way,
I do like Seth McLaughlin.
Yeah, we got a guard center, and we addressed the offensive line a little bit, give Corey Levin some competition, although they did sign 2 other guys that will compete with him too. So, yeah, we got some things going at guard center.
Okay. Yeah, no, I like it. And it's funny, whenever I've brought him up, Big Joe, I think, has a little bit of PTSD and says, don't get another Ohio State offensive lineman.
Yeah. Big Joe knows, man. You scout the prospect, not the school.
Yeah, exactly. 615-737-1025. Trey wants to comment on the number 1 overall pick. And Trey, I can only imagine how you feel about the number 1 overall pick. Go ahead.
Man, how y'all doing today? What's up, Teddy?
What's going on?
Not much. Hey, I just believe that we have too many holes and gaps in the defense and in the offense. We probably need 8 players to fix that. And from what it's just crazy to sacrifice the number 1 pick when you have probably $200 million worth of work to do to build the team. And if that's what they're gonna do, I hope it works out for them. And y'all have a good day. Thank you.
Trey, don't leave us. Don't leave us. What do you want to do with that number 1 pick?
I think they should trade down, get more picks. We need another guard, baby guard. We need a edge rusher. We need a cornerback. We need a tight end. We need another running back. I don't know. Are they gonna say that when he fails that he's still good?
But when he succeeds, then what? Like there's 2 sides of the story.
Sure. If he succeeds, all glory to him. Yeah. But if he doesn't, then what the conversation, what the narrative is going to be then?
I think
we need.
I get what you're saying. We need 8 or 9 different. But you can't just come in just automatically assuming that man's going to fail when he's done was overcoming odds.
I'm not assuming, but what I'm saying is, okay, if he does great, okay, what if our record is 6-12? Is it still great?
It's a good start.
You're
If
right.
you go
You're
6-12 with him as a rookie, and then you continue to build upon it, because here's the thing: this team, Trey, you and I both know,
Thanks, Trey.
like as good of a fan Trey is, and a lot of these Titans fans, they know this team ain't going to the Super Bowl next year. So what you do is it's a step process, right? You get your quarterback in that you feel that you can win with. You match him up like with the coach, and I can't stress how important stability is. In this situation, if you take this quarterback, do not fire Brian Callahan. Do not fire him. You got to give them 2 years. Now I get it. If it's just a complete and total mess, then yeah. But if you win 6 games, you know, and one of them's not against New England, okay, so what? Still give them you get your quarterback, and now you start to build around your quarterback.
Yeah.
As you're building, you already fortified the trenches. Yeah, you need another guard, but you could get that later. Yeah, you need a tight end. You know, you need an edge rusher. These are all picks that you could get. You're not going to get everything with one pick.
Well, I can't resist this. If they go 6-12, Goodell has snuck in the 18th game on us. So there's that.
Yeah.
But if they go 6-11, I know that's not great, but guess what? That's an improvement.
It's an improvement.
You're stepping. You're going in the right direction. If they're 8-9, I mean, you take that all day long compared to what you've had.
Absolutely, 8-9
with a rookie. With a rookie
8-9, you might have to celebrate a little bit.
Yeah, right.
You know
like
I mean?
I mean, so no, I'm with you. If they're going to take Cam Ward, which they are, you have got to. And I say you, I'm talking to Chad Brinker and Mike Berganzi and Amy Adams-Strunk. You have to say we're committed to Brian Callahan for at least 2 more years. Now, if you go 0-17, to your point, all right, that's a different conversation. But if you're showing competitiveness, if the rookie is showing that he's developing, if the scheme is obviously working with him, then you gotta let it play out.
Yeah.
You gotta be patient. You can't have this, backstabbing. Oh, we're just gonna go through this year and then go get my guy. You can't do that.
It's
like
not
as Jared calls it, you cannot have my guy syndrome.
That's a great coin.
You can't
a phrase that he coined.
You cannot have that.
And the thing is also, because I mean, like the Cam Ward truthers who feel that Brian Callahan should only get this year, and if it doesn't work, will say, hey, well, he's been in different schemes. You got to remember this. His coach, Eric Morris, at Incarnate Word, was also the offensive coordinator at Washington State.
Yeah.
So that's not 2 different schemes.
Right. He's gone.
You know what I mean?
He went with him.
Yeah.
And look, and I think that's certainly a fair point, but I think you got to let it play out. You got to let it play out. You got to let it develop, because I've heard people go, well, why do you trust Brian Callahan to develop Cam Ward? He couldn't do it with Will Levis. No, I think what he discovered was Will Levis isn't a starting NFL quarterback. And I think he found that out pretty quick. And, first game did not show him a whole lot of good things. Now, do I think Levis can stay in this league and be a backup? Sure. But I think we all know he's not the guy.
It's so frustrating.
That's not on the coach.
I was talking to Blake Bedingfield. He helped me with a story I have coming out. And, we talked about Levis, and I'm just like, man, I remember Chris Sanders and I first saw him, and I turned to Chris and I was like, if God himself was making a quarterback, like, this is what it would look like. But it's like he stopped at the shoulders.
Yeah.
He didn't put the stuff up top
right.
that you need. And Blake, he talked about how it seems like he has that, want-to syndrome, where he always wants to please everybody and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, and that gets in his way. I think that's a really good point, because I think Levis, if he could lose some of that, where he just plays his game and plays like he practices, because supposedly he practices really well, then you might be having a different conversation. But it's almost like he tries too hard.
Yeah.
And when he tries too hard, he makes mistakes.
Now, here's the thing, and I think, this is something that we probably should talk about. If they go 1-5, 2-4 to start,
then what happens?
How do you handle that?
Let's talk about that. Coming up next, Chasing Big Joe. TD is in for Big Joe today. We're live at the Hermitage Golf Course for the Stars Golf Tournament. Plus, we'll get some of your texts on this as well. It is draft week, and we're excited about our draft coverage getting underway on Thursday from Twin Peaks in Madison. It'll be Jared Stillman. It'll be Derek Mason, Chris Sanders, and Trevor Maddich from ESPN. Plus, I'm sure we'll check in with TD from the facility as well. It all gets underway at 6 o'clock, presented by Hardee's, Parman Tractor and Equipment, Twin Peaks, Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, Shane Company, and Professional Home Improvements. That starts Thursday at 6 here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 the game on this Monday. Teron Davenport in for Big Joe at the Hermitage Golf Course, Stars Golf Tournament. It is a little rainy today, but they're on the course. Rain or shine, this thing is going. I did want to mention before we get into more of this discussion at quarterback, Shefty put out a few minutes ago, the Eagles and Cam Jurgens, their Pro Bowl center, have agreed to a 4-year, $68 million extension. I think like 32-ish of that is guaranteed. He's now the second highest paid center in NFL history. And I was just commenting to you, Howie Roseman has just, I mean, it's like he knew Kelsey was going to be retiring in a few years. So they drafted Jurgens. They moved him over to center. Now you got him. You're paying him. He finds money under the couch. And I know Jared's going to use that for his cap is fake theory. But, you know, he finds that. But Howie, to me, has put together quietly a Hall of Fame resume for a general manager. 2 Super Bowls now, and then just the talent he's able to find.
And I think when you mentioned the 2 Super Bowls, this is for an organization that had never won before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're right, the talent that he's able to find. And I was just telling you the story about Bobby Taylor and Troy Vincent when those guys were the starting corners. And in the same draft, he took Lito Shepherd in the first round, and then in the third round, he grabbed Sheldon Brown. And those guys were starting at corner 2 years later when the guys who were established were gone. So, yeah, he's done a great job in just, like, making that shrewd move, right? Like, hey, get on the phone. I know A.J. Brown is the buzzers are circling around him in Tennessee, who, by the way, and I got to say something to my city, man. You guys are tripping, man. They stole A.J. Brown's car last night.
Really?
Yeah, they stole his car, man. You guys got to
come
stop
on now.
tripping. They did that to Embiid. They did that to a few. You got to stop that foolishness. But anyway, that move like that, like those are the types of moves, right? And that's why, like, when they were talking about Myles Garrett, Max Crosby becoming available, everybody's like, Howie is going to mess around and go get him. And he has a knack for identifying what the team needs and doing what he has to do to bring it in.
So we were discussing, you brought it up, that you bring in Cam Ward, you start him as a rookie, keep Brian Callahan, be patient there. But what if they start out, 1-6, 2-5, somewhere in there? Then what? And like, we know that, like, okay, answer this question real quick. If you had to give a percentage of Will Levis being on the roster when they start the season, what would you put it at?
55%.
That's kind of where I'm at too. I think there's a good chance he's not on the roster.
Yeah.
So you have Brandon Allen that you brought in, but okay, he is what he is. So what if? Because if you make the change, like if you're making the commitment to Cam Ward to be your starter from day one, you're riding with that. You can't.
Oh yeah, you're not.
You can't go back on that because you'll ruin him if you do.
Yeah.
So then what?
Yeah, and I mean, you look at Carolina, with the Bryce Young situation,
and that's a little different.
But yeah, I
but you don't have Andy Dalton on this roster.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's the big thing. So, it's not my question. Nick did a great job.
Yeah,
Nick Frazier, bringing that up. He did a great job. But I think if you have that rough start and the quarterback's a big part of it, you gotta just work through it. But then you also have to look at how you're losing games.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, like,
how close are they?
Yeah, if they're close games, if you're just getting dog walked, then that's a different story. So it's all relative, but I think it's something you definitely have to think about. But here's the problem. If you fire Brian Callahan, like, who do you turn to for the rest of the year? And then remember, his son's his dad is on the thing. So then what? Like,
you're probably firing both of them.
Yeah, you're going to have to clean that whole thing out. And that's not something you do during the year.
No, and here's the other thing. The most qualified, to answer your question, the most qualified person on that coaching staff to take over for Brian Callahan, if you fire Brian Callahan, is Bill Callahan.
Exactly.
Is the former head coach that took his team to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That's talk about an awkward conversation. Hey, Bill, we're firing your son, but we need you to take over.
That's why that's a conversation. You gotta hope that it doesn't even get to that.
What about Bones Fossil?
I mean, that's the likely answer.
Yeah.
But because he's done it before. But I know he didn't want to do it before. Right. So, like, would he want to do it now?
He's dead man walking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're not going to give him the job unless, something crazy.
Well, he was smart getting a 2-year deal.
Yeah.
Knowing that some of this could happen. But I'm with you. I'm just kind of like, you just kind of have to ride it out and then address it at the end of the year. And I know it's apples and oranges to compare hockey and football, but that was my take with Andrew Brunette when they were talking. Everybody was like, "Oh, he needs to be fired. He needs to be fired." Number one, who's available that's going to be better at this point in time? In the middle of the season. And two, is that really? And I know hockey, that happens. You fire a coach, and it does spark something. But I just think they were in a position where they needed to ride it out. That's what they did, and now they're looking at what they're going to do. But my hope is that we're not having this conversation. That you see some rookie struggles that are going to exist, but you also see like, okay, he's not making the same mistake twice, like his predecessor. He's learning. He's getting more comfortable. He's getting more confident.
Yeah.
The nerves are settling, and he's getting a grasp on the system. And if you see improvement, again, it's not always cut and dry of, oh, they lost the game. How did they lose the game?
Right.
How close was the game? Did they lose the game because they were down by, a touchdown and Cam Ward tries to make a play and just throws a pick? For throwing the ball deep down the field, trying to make a play, but they were in it the whole way. Did the defense give up a bad score? There are a lot of factors that go into how you win or lose a game.
Yeah, and there's levels of a loss. And obviously, a loss is a loss. And at the end of the day, it shows.
Sure.
But there's things you could build upon. Let's say they're playing the Chiefs, and the Chiefs jump out to a 21-0 lead, and the Titans fight back and end up losing 28-24. You're like, okay.
Yeah, there's something there.
You know what? There's a little, exactly. Right. That's one that we could build upon. Like, that's what you think if you're the team. So it's just all relative, man. And I think even like looking at some of the in the chat here, talking about Brian Callahan getting targets for Calvin Ridley, and look, you could dial the play up.
Yeah.
And there were a good 2 to 3 weeks where Nick Holt stood up there and I said, hey, and he was like, yeah, we had plays to Ridley where he was the number one, but for whatever reason, it went elsewhere and it was open, so it's not all on the coaches.
Right.
You know
Which is basically the nice way of saying the quarterback did the opposite of what we wanted him to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Or didn't take the opportunity that we dialed up for him. You know?
Skyler says in our text line, I'm not arguing that Cam Ward isn't a great talent. I'm worried that the Titans franchise as an organization is going to fail the young man with lack of talent around him, and everybody will be fired in a year or two.
Hey, listen. He has legit reason to be worried.
Sure.
But you also have legit reason to have hope, because you look at what Mike Bergonzi and Dave Ziegler and Reggie McKenzie, with Chad Brinker overseeing it, have done already. They really fortified the offensive line, right? They identified that. Hey, look, this is – and then even I know, like Zadarius Smith, I'm not sure why he's still on the market. He's someone that they obviously should have brought in. Draymond Jones, a really good pick. And actually on that Jeffrey Simmons interview with Jill, I believe he said that Draymond was kind of like a Danico Autry, not the same player, but like that inside-outside type of guy that will help. So you got that. Obviously receiver. But I think the point is Borgonzi and this crew have given you hope, and then you always could lean back on what Borgonzi did in Kansas City. But like what Rand did in San Francisco, to have that happen here, you got to give it a chance.
Yeah, you can't.
That's the main thing.
You can't just pull the plug like they've been doing the past 3 years. Like there's been no patience. And, I wonder if that was a part of the conversation and why, a certain someone has kind of gone into the darkness a little bit, and you haven't seen Amy Adams Strunk as much.
She was at the league meetings, but we didn't get to see. I was hoping to see her, because she's always very, very
sure.
Nice. I'm very fond of Amy Adams.
She's a very nice, very nice person. I think, like her dad, would get a little too impatient.
Yeah, very reactionary.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to get on the bad side.
No, you just got to let it. You got to let some things play out.
Yeah,
That's
it cook.
Just how it is. Let it cook. Exactly. A guy that you covered for a long time, Brett Kern, former Titans punter, is going to join us coming up next. We'll get his thoughts on the draft and so much more. Chasing Big Joe, Tehran in for Big Joe today at the Hermitage Golf Course, the Stars Golf Tournament going on right now. 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Hour number 2, chasing Big Joe. Teron Davenport in for Big Joe today here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game at the Hermitage Golf Course, the Stars Golf Tournament. It is pouring down rain right now, but they are playing rain or shine, and it is obviously for a great organization in Stars. A man that I know that loves to play golf, maybe not today, Brett Kern, former Titans punter, joins us now here on the program. Brett, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning. It would be a rough morning for some golf this morning, but I'm glad they're out there persevering and, playing for a great cause.
Yeah, absolutely. And excited to have TD with us here today. Brett, it is draft week. We just had an interesting conversation, though, because obviously we know probably who the Titans are going to take number 1 overall in Cam Ward. And the question was asked by Nick Frazier, our producer, what do you do if they start off, 1-6, 2-5, somewhere in there? You're committed to him as the starter, but
Right.
Do you look at making a coaching change at that point, or do you just simply ride it out because you don't want to upset too much of the apple cart with a rookie quarterback?
Yeah, I think that's probably the hardest part. When you're taking a quarterback, or let's say if they take the quarterback number 1, it's obviously not set in stone, but let's say they do take Cam Ward number 1, and they don't get off to the start that, they're obviously looking for. Like the biggest danger is all of a sudden you fire the coach, and then you bring somebody else in, and then that's a new system. And then does that work out? Does that not work out? Then all of a sudden management's fired, potentially another coach, and you start going down this path of, no consistency for your number 1 pick. And that's tough. There's plenty of guys across the league. I think we talked about it last week, these quarterbacks that are going, top 5, and they're going to organizations that are struggling, right? There's a lot of coaching questions. You could say the same thing, in New York, right? Like, what if the Giants don't have a great year again, and they take a quarterback or something like that, right? And Dable's gone, right? Then all of a sudden now you're changing things up again, for if they select, quarterback. Just as another example. And I think, that's tough. That's tough for a quarterback to come in. First of all, the pressure of being a number 1 pick, right? You already had that weight on your shoulders. And now all of a sudden there's a coaching change, and you're learning a new system, you're adding more pressure, and it just becomes a lot. And I think that's why you see a lot of quarterbacks, not all the time, but most of the time, if you're a top 5 pick and you're going to an organization that's struggling like that, it's hard, really, really hard to succeed.
Brett, not just for the quarterback, but also just for the whole organization. I mean, you've been a part of stability. How critical, is that to everybody's development?
Yeah. Well, first of all, what's up, TD? It's been a long time.
Man?
It's good to talk to you.
Yeah, no doubt.
But yeah, I think it's tough. I've obviously been on both sides of it, and I think when there's stability, that gives your players confidence, and that gives other people in the organization confidence, right? And obviously that's what you want. You see the structure, you can kind of see what's going on, you can see decisions being made and maybe understand why they're doing them. And there's continuity, right? And then I've been on the side where there's not, and then there's like, well, the coach is hired, but then there's no GM, and then the order, the pecking order, I guess you could say, gets out of line, and then all of a sudden you got people walking around on eggshells. And that is the last thing you want as a player, to be walking around on eggshells. But then also you have coaches walking around on eggshells, like, hey, are we going to get fired mid-season? What's happening? What's going on? And all of a sudden you start coaching conservatively because you don't want to lose your job. And it's a snowball effect that just gets out of control.
Brett Kern is with us, former Titans punter. So we were talking about pick 35 and kind of the conundrum that they could be in there. Yeah, your favorite. You knew I was going to bring this up. And that is, if there's a game-changing receiver or edge rusher on the board, do you stick and pick? Or do you just kind of go, I really need to add more, and so you trade back in the hopes of getting into the 3rd round and, maybe adding something else? I kind of think they have to just be in the moment to really decide. But to me, I'm probably sticking and picking and taking the game-changing player if he's there.
Yeah, I think I know, TD, you probably got your kind of like your order, like you have your top tier guys that go, in the 1st round, and then you have like your next tier that is like, late 1st round pick, and then you get some of those guys that they like, when you turn on coverage, right? And they're like, oh, I can't believe these guys, didn't go in the first round. And there's like 4 or 5 of them, right, that seem to be, well, these guys should have been picked in the first round, but they're not. And all of a sudden you have these teams that kind of have this FOMO of like, well, wait a second, if I could trade up and I can get one of these guys, for example, Will Levis, right? Titans were picking 41. They trade up to 33 with Arizona, and Arizona, gets pick 41, pick 72 in the 3rd round, and then they get, 2024 3rd round pick, right? And so is there a player out there, that can squeak by Cleveland at 33, get by the Giants at 34, right? So when you get to, the Titans, like, is there still a player there that some team is like, hey, we got to get this guy, right? And then at that point, do the Titans move back a couple spots? I mean, the Bears have pick 39 and pick 41. All right. Is there a player that they want that they say, hey, look, we got 2 picks in the 2nd round. Let's move up, right? Let's get a slot. Let's move back with the Titans. We'll give them a 3rd round. Like, is there a situation like that happens, right? Unless there's a player you absolutely love and you absolutely want, like, take them. But I also think pick 35 is huge because I think that's how you get your 3rd round pick if you want one.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. You're right. It's like every year there's 50 first round picks, right? And you just see who spills over. And I think, like, for the Titans, if Jalen Milroe is on the board, if Jackson Dart's on the board, even Tyler Shough to a degree,
right,
then that's prime. I want to ask you this about the receiver position, and just because looking a little bit later, how you want to factor in the return ability. And, you haven't been the premier punter that you've been. You've done the preparation leading up to games. How much does a dynamic punt returner factor into, what you guys got to scheme to and everything that you do during the week?
Yeah, I mean, I punted against, Devin Hester, Darren Sproles, Jacoby Jones. I mean, some of these guys where I felt like, can I get a break? I felt like the only break I got was when, like, Peyton Manning was the quarterback for the Colts, and it was an automatic fair catch because they just wanted Peyton to go get the ball, right? Go out there with his offense. It's a lot. I mean, if you throw a dynamic punt returner back there, I mean, that's a guy that, if he's able to get 10, 15 yards per return, you're looking at a free first down, potentially more if he touches it, right? And so, if there's a guy out there that they can get that can give you production at the receiver spot, and then all of a sudden you're getting it, in special teams as well. I mean, that's huge because, having meetings where, you're punting against Devin Hester and, like I said, Darren Sproles and these guys, and you're like, hey, they're averaging, 15, almost 20 per. It's like, how do you just have to punt it out of bounds, right? And obviously that doesn't happen every time. And so, to get a game changer on special teams, even with kick returns too, if you can get out there past the 25 and steal a first down, I think it's crazy to think, we call it hidden yardage, right? And how much hidden yardage there is in a game. And I've been a part of games where it's, a super, super close game and it's only like 20 yards. And then there's some games where you can really get after a team and you look and the hidden yardage is like over 100 yards, right? And it's crazy. And so if you can get a player that can help, obviously, towards that kind of category, you'd be surprised at how that helps, with field position. And then just at the end of the day, you realize, we crushed them in hidden yardage, and it might not show up in the stat sheet, but it shows up with a victory. So
Brett Kern is with us. And, speaking of special teams, I feel like, when J-Rob and Vrabel and that group was here, they did a really good job of addressing special teams, of finding those special teams guys that's the reason they're in the league. That was their bread and butter. And I kind of feel like this team has gotten away from that. And now hopefully this new group is going to address that more, because, I mean, you lived it, Brett. You had guys on the special teams unit, whether it was defensively or offensively, that you knew that was their specialty, no pun intended. I feel like this team needs to do that now.
Yeah, well, I mean, I remember, telling you guys, during the season, like, I don't think I go to those Pro Bowls without the guys that I have in front of me. And that's a fact. I mean, I punted the ball well. I was putting it where I needed to put it. But these guys, I mean, Darren Bates, I remember at Houston, the first 2 punts went out of bounds because I think they had Jacoby Jones back there. And he came over to me, and he was in my face to the point that Craig Aukerman had to pull him away. He was like, you're taking money away from my family. Like, I will go down there and cover it. I mean, we had this altercation on the side. I'm like, Darren, I just hit 2 out of bounds. I'm feeling great. And he comes over and he's like, you don't do that. Like, this is my job. Let me prove it. And I'm going to go do it. So the next punt, I mean, I remember talking there we're in the huddle and Wesley Woodyard's like, hey man, just put it just outside the numbers. We'll go cover. And I put this thing about 3-4 yards outside the numbers, and who's the first one down there? Bates, literally trying to take his head off. I'm like, all right. So, those kind of guys that you have on the team, we had like 3 or 4 of them that year. Brandon Trawick was another one. And these guys, like, this is their pride. This is how they make their living. They go down there, they make tackles, they make plays, they're blocking. It's their pride, right? And so when you have those guys, you can tell the units across the league that have those guys, like those dudes. And then the teams that are struggling, well, it's like, well, we don't really address it. So, we had this 6th-round pick. He's never played. I've been, on teams where some of these guys have never played special teams before, but it's like, well, you kind of don't fit into the offense yet. But in order for us to like justify, you being on this team, like you have to play special teams. Mm-hmm. And I just remember in OTAs and even in training camp, guys are learning the basics of special teams. And I'm thinking, man, these guys are about to go out week 1 and start and play special teams. Like, so it's just a huge difference. And it just depends on how you want to address it, how much you allocate for it, and those types of players that you bring in.
That's a great point, because you look at Bryce Oliver, right? It took him a little bit. And then once Justin Hardy got here, then everything started to change. I wanted to ask you this, though, because I'm curious what you think. You look at the way everything is with NIL and the transfer portal, and you have these guys where it's just like, hey, man, I don't like the way this coach coaches me, so I'm going to bounce. Do you feel that could be an issue? Like, how much of an issue can that be, for guys rolling into the league where you're evaluating a prospect and you're like, well, I don't know if he was coached hard enough, because this was a possibility of him leaving. If as you're evaluating, what do you think of that?
Man, that's tough. That's a great question. I feel like with the portal and all that stuff and the ability to transfer whenever you want to transfer, in that portal window, and there's really no consequence. And I get it, like coaches can leave when they want to leave. But like there's no perseverance that, we're teaching these kids, right? Some of the kids are like, hey man, I'm a diehard. I want to put this jersey on. This is what I'm all about. And I get that. Right. And then there's others that are like, well, I'm not playing enough. I don't like this coach. I'm out. Well, I come here. Yeah, I'm still not playing enough. Like, you're not really like, what are we teaching these kids? Right. And I just think that's another thing that's hard to evaluate, because I even look at like what Travis Hunter said. Like, well, if I'm not playing both, I'm out. And like, as a coach, you're thinking, hey, like, no, you're going to do what we say. Right. I don't think you understand how hard it is to learn an offensive game plan and learn a defensive game plan and be able to go out there and execute. Like, it's like you're going to go cover DK Metcalf and then, turn around and try to go against, their best corner. You know what I'm saying? Like this is hard. So like, what's his, well, I'm not playing both. So I don't want to be here. I'm out. Right. It's like, that's hard to evaluate. I don't know. I mean, that's a great question. I just think that, the college game with the portal, I get it. You want to pay guys as much as you want to pay them. Like, that's your prerogative. Like, go ahead and spend money on these kids that, potentially haven't even produced yet. Right. But I think like when these kids can transfer, when they can hit the portal, how many times they can hit the portal, I think just really needs to be looked at, because I do think, starting here, whether it's not this year, next year, even the year after, it's going to start affecting the NFL game.
Yeah, no doubt. Brett, appreciate it as always. It's finally here. When we talk to you next, the Titans will have made their selections in the draft, so we will be able to.
It's finally here.
Finally. Thanks so much. We'll talk next week.
Good to talk to you, man.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, good to talk to you, TD. We'll take care.
Brett Kern, former Titans punter, joining us on the show as he does every Monday at 10. We'll react to some of the things he said. Plus, I want to ask TD this. If a team called and made the right offer, what would that offer be to trade Jeffrey Simmons? We'll discuss that and much more coming up next. Chasing Big Joe, Teron Davenport in for Big Joe today, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Of course. I was like, what are we doing here?
Ashuka.
Is this the remix now that he comes out to?
Yeah, that's just a little remix version.
Okay.
To
I like
switch it
the
up a little bit.
the.
I like the original more.
Oh yeah.
All the Mets games I've been to, I still have not seen that.
Oh, you've never seen him
I haven't
pitch?
seen him come up.
Oh,
I'm gonna go crazy when I do.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
It was funny. I was looking at the Braves schedule this year, and I'm like, I've only seen the Mets once. I kind of want to see Braves Mets this year, so could be fun.
Yeah.
We're at the Hermitage Golf Course today. Dr. Crane's back at the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. And, of course, our show is presented by the Omni Nashville Hotel. Teron Davenport in today for Big Joe Dubin. I appreciate Brett Kern for joining us. So I asked you the question because I don't think it's likely, but I do wonder if it's been talked about internally. I know we've talked about it, that if a team made the right offer to acquire Jeffrey Simmons, because basically I think we can all agree this team is very much in a rebuild. They're not close to being ready to compete. They just made the GM change. We have said it that you need to give the coach some time now with a rookie quarterback, but Jeff is in the prime of his career, going into year 6.
Year 7.
Year 7. He's still in the prime. So if a team called that, needs a big guy there on the defensive line, what would be that offer that you would want to say yes to?
Honestly, I don't know that I trade him.
Okay.
It would take, you better offer me, and I'm going to be unreasonable.
Yeah.
I want a couple first.
Yeah.
So in other words, I'm not trading him. Because here's the thing, okay? You trade him for a first-round pick. You take the first-round pick. What do you hope the first-round pick is going to be?
Yeah, right.
A player.
You're basically going to be looking for Jeffrey Simmons.
Right. So it's like, why even do it? I don't think it's worth doing that. He's the one, if you go through this whole roster and you tell me, okay, give me one guy that is in the conversation for top 5 at his position. He's the only one.
Yeah.
I mean, Snead normally, but we know everything surrounding that.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I mean, it's an interesting hypothetical to talk about, but you would basically be spending, some of those assets to go find the next Jeffrey Simmons, which I don't think he's there right now, whether it's in the draft or upcoming free agents. And also, I go back to when they drafted him, I was really looking forward to him and Jarrell Casey playing together, and having that 1-2 punch. I think you can have that with Sweat.
Yeah.
As Sweat, now, I mean, he definitely hit the rookie wall last year. You could definitely tell. But as he develops and conditions to be an NFL player in a 17-game season, I think he's going to get better and better. If you go get a viable edge rusher, which they don't currently have, then you're going to see that, just like we used to talk about with Derrick Henry on the offensive side and A.J. Brown on the outside, you're sacrificing one to guard the other. It'd be the same thing. Are you going to double team Jeffrey Simmons every play? Or then you got Sweat that you have to worry about. Then you have, edge rusher that you got to worry about. That's what I hope they get to.
Yeah, no, and that's a great point. And I'll take it one step further. And I remember Vrabel used to always say how he appreciated the way Jeffrey Simmons ran to the ball every snap.
Yeah.
Even during practice.
Right.
These are tone setters. Remember, this is a young team. They're bringing in younger players, etc. If I see Jeffrey Simmons running to every snap, and the ball every snap, and I'm T'Vondre Sweat, I'm like, hey, you know what? I got to do that too.
Yeah.
And I think that culture setting aspect that he brings to the table. Yeah, I know, he'll miss a practice or two, and he'll have a blow up, whatever. Okay, you take that along with the good. But my point is, I think Jeffrey Simmons is a guy that could be like a walking embodiment of what you want your franchise to be, right? Had the adversity, overcame that. You haven't heard any issues whatsoever.
Yeah.
In the community. He just put the
The Project Runway thing.
Yeah, he'd put that on. Like, this is a guy that you need. He's a cornerstone. He's a pillar of your franchise.
And look, I've said this over and over again. I like Jeffrey Simmons. I think he's a really good player. I think there's another level, and
Absolutely.
I think that what he really needs to do. And again, if you haven't listened to the Nashville Game Changers with Jill Jelnick, really good interview with him. She really got him to open up, which is not easy to do, and he did. My thing is, he's gotta stay off social media and quit letting that stuff bother him, because he does. It gets to him. I mean, he even talked about it of, his opinion is you need to watch the film. I'm getting double teamed every play. That's what you should. That should be happening. You should be getting double teamed.
Yeah.
But like, you don't need to sit there and tell us that we got it. Like, do something about it. And I think the team can do something about it by getting him some help, especially on the outside. And then teams aren't able to do that. Like, you're going to have a three-headed monster to watch out for. I just think there's little things that get to him. And I think some of that is stemmed from, the questions that he had to answer coming into the league and his past and all that. He's just, and I understand all that, but you can't hear every piece of criticism and take it personally.
Yeah.
Like if you do, keep that internal. Use that as that chip on your shoulder and use that as your motivation. But it doesn't help him when he gets caught up in some of that stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely no good. I don't think it's impacting his play, but it is something just image wise.
Yeah.
Optically, you gotta clean that up. But it's just, you talk about the double teams. He's not getting double teamed every snap.
No.
Right. So my thing is this: when you're not double teamed, like, make them pay. Like,
right.
Like, make the head coach look up to the defense coordinator, the OC, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? We didn't double team him and look what happened. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like, that's the impact that you got to have. Make them pay.
Well, and the other thing too is, don't get on Jeffrey Simmons for not getting to the quarterback. That's not really his role. He's not. He can. We've seen it, but he's kind of starting that play. Whereas, like, okay, you're going to have to give more attention to him, which is going to open up the door to a guy from the outside coming in and getting to your quarterback.
Yeah.
That's really what you want Jeffrey to do. Now, in those instances like you're talking about where he's not double teamed, then hell yeah, go knock his head off. But I'm curious. I'm really curious about it, and he talked about it. It seemed like him and Denard really got along, and he fits into Denard's scheme.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see what that looks like in year 2.
Yeah, and I think, to your point about not always getting to the quarterback, he does something really well to me, and I think that comes from working with Terrell Williams. Like, when it's time to match hands with the quarterback, he's able to do that. He'll get a tip pass, but other times he may change it to where the quarterback has to, like, shift within the pocket or change his launch angle to be able to get the ball out because he's clouding up the passing lane. Those are things that don't go in the stat sheet, but I've seen different times where the ball was off target because Jeff was distorting how the quarterback had to deliver the ball. So I think you got to factor that in too. It's the sacks, and he admitted it himself. He wants to get to 10 sacks, double digits, because they don't have a guy on the roster that has done that before now, Landry being gone.
No. And look, the Landry thing, we haven't really talked about that. I mean, I get it. I get why they did it. They needed to get out of that contract. He hadn't quite lived up to that contract. And so I understand the move. Now, I think we all know I'm worried what's going to happen. He's going to go and be back with Vrabes, and, they just tear it up again. But at the same time, I understood the move. Now the question is, how do you replace it?
How do you replace it? Yep.
And we will certainly find out as the season goes along. He's Teron Davenport in for Big Joe today. We're live at the Hermitage Golf Course, the Stars Golf Tournament going on right now. I talked to our GM, Sean Fort. He said it is a little wet out there, but they're having fun nonetheless for a great cause. So we're excited about that. And speaking of Hermitage Golf Course, we're going to be back here on May the 29th for our golf tournament, the 4th annual 615 Open Charity Golf Tournament. Is presented by Gary Force Acura. and along with our partners, Fox 17, Outfront Media, and Social Indoor, we're really excited to put this on to benefit Folds of Honor. So you can sign up to play or sponsor simply by going to 615open.com for more details. Chase and Big Joe, TD in today, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game at Hermitage Golf Course, Stars Golf Tournament. Teron Davenport in today for Big Joe Dubin. We'll have celebrity birthdays here in just a few minutes. Adam Vingan is going to sit in the question chair and ask the birthdays to TD and I. So looking forward to that. We got a text on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHoney.com. Kevin says the best D tackles get to the quarterback. Teams have put an emphasis on that in the past 5 to 6 years. For what Simmons is paid, he needs to sack the quarterback. If not, get rid of him. He whines, he complains, he's not a leader. He's not worth his paycheck, just like when Lewan got paid. Now he's going to take it easy. We need him to sack the QB, period. Your thoughts on that?
Now he's going to take it easy. Like,
I don't think he takes it easy.
I hate when comments are made like out of so much ignorance. Yeah, obviously, I'll be the first to tell you he's got to unlock and get to another level. He has to get more sacks. But I mean, come on, seriously.
I agree. I'm with you. I'm with you on this.
And here's the thing. Whoever that is, like, you're not in the locker room and you don't see how he polices the locker room. Like, you don't see how he's always willing to talk after a loss. It's frustrating. Sure. Like, you don't see the look in his face when they got the brakes beat off of him and he turns around and he sees all of us standing there waiting for him. He just sits in there and he talks and he just talks and talks. He doesn't complain about that. Yeah, okay. Every once in a while, he'll say something like, the incident in training camp, like, on Twitter every once. But I mean, to say that to do wides, like, that's, come on.
Here's my thing on that. Because I was about to bring this up. I think a lot of lessons were learned that day because that whole situation could have been prevented because this was a rookie moment for Brian Callahan. I would have thrown his ass out of practice. I would Vrabel would have thrown him out.
Yeah.
And, I hate hate always going back to Vrabel, but I think looking back on it, that happens. You swing a punch. A ref is sitting there going, had this been a game, I would have tossed you. Callahan should have looked at him and said, 98, hit the showers.
Yeah.
And it would have sent a message to Jeff and to the locker room of, hey guys, we got to play disciplined. We can't have that stuff. And I'll use a prime example, different sport, but a prime example. Barry Trotz, who's the GM of the Preds now, was the coach of the Washington Capitals that won the Stanley Cup. And he tells a great story that they had a rule. If you missed the morning meeting on game day, you didn't play. Alex Ovechkin, best player in hockey, misses the meeting. Trotz sat him. And everybody looked at him like, what are you doing? And he goes, if I don't sit him, then what message does that send?
It's absolutely.
He sat him that night. And he told him, he said, nobody's above the team. Nobody's above the rules. They won the cup. So, I mean, it's a message that I think now Brian Callahan has learned. If it happens again, he'll probably make a different decision. But, and I'm not saying that like could have changed the entire year, but that was a really big moment.
Yeah. It's a tone-setting moment.
Yeah. So, that and those are the things with Simmons, that there are little bitty things that kind of add up. But I think it would have done Jeff, it was a disservice to Jeff not to throw him out.
Yeah.
I've always looked at that. Kevin responds, how about every year asking for help on the D-line? How about when he was asked about being a leader, he said he breaks the huddle down on game day. He's not a leader. He may want to be, so did Lawan, but he wasn't, period. I think there's different.
The same guy?
Yeah. There's different kinds of leaders.
I invite you. Yeah, I'm just not. You can't talk about whether or not the guy's a leader if you're not in the locker room and you don't see stuff and you don't, the whole thing with T'Vondre Sweat. You talk about a leader, right? T'Vondre Sweat, like this time last year, everybody was talking about, the different things that happened with T'Vondre Sweat leading up to the draft. Have you heard one thing about it? That I will tell you, who's a big part of that?
Jeffrey Simmons. So here's what I'm going to say on the leadership part. I think there are different kinds of leaders. I think what this team is missing, like we all agree, Kevin Byard, Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill, those guys were leaders, right? You'd agree with me? Okay. Jeffrey Simmons is not that type of leader.
Mm-hmm.
They need those types. They don't have that. They need to find those guys, and hopefully some of these young guys can become that. But Jeff is more of the behind-the-scenes, quiet, going to go talk to you but not put it in the public kind of thing. Like, he just doesn't have that. Like, you look at Derrick Henry, you knew. Like, hey, that guy's in charge.
Yeah.
Kevin Byard, same way. Kevin Byard's very vocal. There are different kinds of leaders, and that's okay. Where I think the Titans need help is they need to find some of those types like Henry, Byard, Tannehill that they are currently missing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where I kind of think a lot of people are at with that.
No, they
But
need that. I mean, but again, I think there's different ways to your point of having different types of leaders, and he's showed up in different ways. Can he get better? Absolutely.
Sure.
Like I'm not going to sit here and say the man's perfect, but I think he's done enough to be able. And the whole thing about asking for help. Well, I mean, look, like if he gets asked, would he like them to draft Abdul Carter? Yeah, like naturally you're going to say yeah.
In a perfect world, I'd want them to draft Abdul Carter.
And even like last year saying getting some help up front, like. Yeah, I mean, I understand that. What's wrong with wanting some help?
Right. They need it. They need help. I mean, just like Derrick Henry was the most effective when you had A.J. Brown to the outside and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
That was when this offense was at its best. But like Carson says, no way in hell I'm trading Big Jeff because I'm taking Abdul and stacking the D-line. I wish they could do that. If they had the quarterback, if Will Levis was that guy, then that's probably what they would do. Because those two together with Sweat would be freaking nuts, would be dangerous. But
you had the perfect cage rush, man, inside outside.
I think honestly, I just have this feeling Carter's going to end up with New England. I just have this feeling.
I keep hearing Cleveland.
He could,
and then Hunter to
the
Giants.
That certainly could happen. And then I've seen some mocks where the who's the DT from, is it Michigan?
Oh, Graham.
Yeah, could go to.
And then Will Campbell. Like, there's a lot of ways that could go.
Yeah,
Will Campbell, I think to the Patriots is a hot one.
Yeah, I could see that. But I mean, could you imagine Carter with Vrabel? Like that. To me, Abdul Carter is a Mike Vrabel dude.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is a Vrabel player over
with Landry on the other side. Like that
yes.
would be, oof.
Yeah. I mean, I think that could be something. 615-737-1025. Now we got a texter that says Abdul Carter is trash. Quit with that BS. Oh gosh, I love draft season. Coming up next, we'll tell you what day it is and celebrity birthdays here on Chasing Big Joe, live from the Hermitage Golf Course, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game here on this Monday. We're at Hermitage Golf Course, the Stars Golf Tournament. We were just laughing on Twitter, Teron Davenport in for Big Joe. AJ Brown just tweeted a thumbs up emoji, and he's changed his avatar to Chase from Paw Patrol. His car got stolen last night, so I guess Chase is on the case, is what he's saying. Also, he's going to be the commencement speaker at Ole Miss.
Yeah.
That'll
Pretty
be
cool. Pretty
Yeah.
cool. He has a great message.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Fantastic message. Yeah, I think that'll be really cool. With that, Dr. Crane, let's get to what day is it and celebrity birthdays. It is presented by Jared Companies, Inc., above and beyond industry standards, the only company you need for commercial construction services. Just visit them at JaredCompaniesInc.com. And we welcome in Adam Vingan, who's going to be helping today when we get to the celebrity birthdays portion. But Dr. Crane, take it away.
Thank you, sir. First on we have Big Word Day. So if you like big words, shout them out today. Boston Marathon Day is today.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is today.
That's
Cool.
on ESPN, I believe. So,
Yeah.
Bulldogs are beautiful day. Wonderful breed
They
of
are.
dogs. Let's see. We have Dingus Day. That's interesting. Easter
That is
Monday.
Yep.
You can have your get off my lawn, talk to people. Today is keep off the grass day.
Okay. Joe
Kindergarten day.
Rexrode would like that.
Yeah, Joe Rexrode likes to just yell at clouds too. It's just
He does, yeah.
it's a Joe Rexrode thing. National Chickpea Day. Those are delicious. National Chocolate Covered Cashews Day. Everybody knows I love a good chocolate covered cashew. National Egg Salad Sandwich Day. Very delicious. National Rendering Day. Not computers. It's talking more about food and stuff. National Tea Day. That is delicious. National Yellow Bat
Jared
Day.
likes tea.
Ooh, Jared does like tea. Maybe in different facets, but still it's tea. Patriots Day is today. Let's see. Thank you for libraries. There are a lot of library stuff going on lately.
We love the libraries lately.
We do. I
It's
guess we
good.
got to talk soft. I don't know. Tuna Rights Day. So the tuna that's in the water, they got rights, I guess. I don't know. White House. White House Easter Egg Roll Day. Easter egg rolls.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Let's see. World Creativity and Innovation Day to wrap it up.
Very nice. All right. Teron, this will be between you and me. We have to guess the age of the celebrity that is today is their birthday. Have to get it within 2, and if you hit it right on, you get 2 points.
Okay.
That's how it works. Adam Vingan, you're going to keep up with all
Hello.
this, correct?
Yes,
All right. You have the floor.
I am ready. All right, let's start with Iggy Pop, rocker Iggy Pop. How old is he today?
I will let Teron go first.
I'm going to say 68.
I'll say 71.
He is 78 years old today,
Wow.
Iggy Pop.
Okay.
Tony Danza.
Ooh.
How old is Tony Danza today?
You shoot first?
Okay. No, you go. You just keep going first.
All right. Tony Dan, man, you're just going to put me on the. I'll say 65.
72.
He is 74 today.
Lord,
Chase is up 1-0. Actor Andy McDowell. How old is Andy McDowell today?
I don't know who that is. I'm sorry.
I think I know who that is.
Let me look up some of her well-known
Yeah. I can go. You want me to go first?
Go ahead.
Go for it.
I'm going to say 42.
I'll go 47.
She is 67 today.
Jeez. All right, we're
She
off.
is 67 today. She is known for, she played Rita in Groundhog Day. She was in the movie 4 Weddings and a Funeral, among other things. I'm not a major cinephile myself.
I'm
go.
so much better at this show, like when I'm driving
Yeah.
on Bradley Parkway and guessing that way and listening to you guys.
All right, let's go to another rocker. Robert Smith, lead singer of The Cure. How old is Robert Smith today?
74.
71.
66.
Ah,
Chase still up 1-0. Actor/comedian Rob Riggle. How old is Rob Riggle today?
Oh, he's the funny guy. I know. I'll say 56.
53.
He is 55. So TD gets that one.
TD gets it.
It's
Yeah.
1-1. All right. The object of affection for a lot of 30-somethings back in the day, Shout out to MTV singled out Carmen Electra. How old is
Oh.
Carmen Electra today?
Carmen Electra, 58.
55.
She is 53 today and still looking great. Chase up 2-1. Actor Sarah Catherine Hook. If you are a White Lotus fan, season 3, she plays Piper. No. How old is Sarah Catherine Hook today?
I need to watch this show. I hear good things. 38.
41.
She is 30 today.
Oh,
All right,
okay.
we've got
Little
four.
off.
We've got 4 sports birthdays.
All right, let's
Here
go.
we go.
Let's start with former Dallas Cowboys quarterback, CBS analyst Tony Romo. How old is Tony today?
Oh, Tony Romo, 45.
47.
He is 45 on the dot. Tehran takes a
job.
3-2 lead with 3 more to go. Former Vanderbilt ace pitcher Jack Leiter. How old is Jack Leiter?
Oh,
Or Jake Leiter, I should say, not
Jake.
Jack.
No, Jack.
It's Jack or
it is
Jake?
Jack. It's
Jack.
Jack.
I'm sorry, Jack Leiter. I
You
wrote
wanna go
Jake for
first?
some
You want me
reason.
to go?
Yeah, I'll go first. I think Jack is 26.
26. I'm going to go 24.
That's a push. He's 25.
Ah.
2 more left. I had to get a wrestling one in here. Brutus Beefcake. How old is
Wow.
ex-professional
Brutus
wrestler
the
Brutus
Barber.
Beefcake? Indeed, Brutus the Barber. How old is he today?
64.
I'm going to say 72.
He is 68 today. We've got
Ah.
one. We've got one more. Tehran has a 3-2 lead. Baseball player Jock Peterson. How old is Jock
Oh.
Peterson today?
Former Atlanta Brave. World
Jock
champion.
Peterson. 31.
33.
He is 33. Chase at the
Whoa,
buzzer
tied it
wins
up. That's
4-3 because he was on
Good
the
job.
nose.
Yeah.
So Chase
Oh.
wins
Yeah, I
4-3
got 2.
today.
Oh, the heck with it.
Good job, guys.
Adam, thank you very much. Looking forward to DVD coming up next.
Of course.
Thanks for jumping in on this. TD's been fun.
Oh,
We've
yeah.
talked some draft out here at Hermitage, but just a few more days away, and we'll have some answers to some questions. And then there'll be more questions.
Thank God. We get to unwrap the gifts, man.
We get to unwrap the gifts. That is for sure. That is going to do it for us. But DVD is coming up next. As we say at the end of our show, we have made it to Monday. We've gotten through the Sunday scaries. We've got a full week ahead. If you are having a hard time, you can always reach out. You can talk to us. You can talk to me. You can talk to Joe. Call 988 on your cell phone. You can talk to TD. But we need you here, and we love you. And most importantly, God loves you. So be with us. Let's get through this week. Joe will be back tomorrow. DVD is coming up next. Peace, love,